Michigan State played its season opener Monday night against James Madison, Breslin Center. It did not go well. Final score 79-76 in overtime. James Madison over Michigan State. That's not supposed to happen when you are one of the sport's biggest brands, led by an all-time great coach, and at tip-off, a 16.5-point favorite. Deadleg, I sat on an aircraft carrier once and watched Michigan State lose a game in front of the 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama. Never thought I'd also watch Michigan State lose a game to the fourth president of the United States.
How are you stealing my trivia time material? Right, I was going to trivia time you on James Madison, where Jimmy landed in the chronological order, but you're all over it. All right,
trivia time.
Okay, what?
Man, you can't, buddy. I wish I could show you my screen time. You know how much time I spent on James Madison's wiki page last night?
Can we dive a little bit deeper occasionally than just the Wikipedia page, by the way?
No. Everything I know, straight from Wikipedia.
Okay.
If it's not on Wikipedia, I have no idea. Anytime you hear me say something, you think, oh, that's interesting. How do you know that? I just was playing around on Wikipedia. Who was James Madison's vice president?
Should I know it? Should I know it?
No, of course not.
Okay, then give it to me. I don't know.
This is going to blow your mind. James Madison's vice president was George Clinton.
Okay.
Funkadelic.
Brought the funk?
Yes, to the White House.
Circa what, 1804?
I couldn't believe it either.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it either.
Young ones out there, if you're not familiar with Funkadelic, please go find it. Maggot Brain, get it on the list to listen to. Big time.
George Clinton, also first governor of New York.
There you go.
That's all I know.
How about that?
That's everything. That's all. Did anything that happened to Michigan State, anything you saw Monday night, change your big picture idea of what Michigan State will be?
Well, let's first address the thing that's been shared plenty, but if you missed it, the fact that this game was even played, the reason for it, Matt Buckland happens to be Tom Izzo's nephew. He's on the staff at James Madison. That's why this game gets apparently scheduled. And you know what? Credit to Izzo for doing it, but
I won't even take phone calls from my nephews.
Okay. Well, Tom Izzo's a better man than you, I guess.
I think we've known that.
Okay.
I think that's been established.
I had JMU, and honestly, when I was building, I had them. They were the last team in my top 101, and I think at one point I got them as high as 99, but eventually I settled on 101. I was clearly too low. They were expected to be the best team in the Sun Belt. They were quality mid-major last season, and now here's a real kaboom on JMU with getting that kind of win. In fact, good old Bart Torvik, he pointed out, and I'll get to Michigan State. But he pointed out that James Madison has this game on Thursday at Kent State, which, by the way, is part of the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. Are you familiar with the battle for the belt?
Get me that shirt.
Shirt? Have you seen the belt? I figured you want. Nada, do we have a photo of this thing? They're getting a straight up wrestling belt for this thing.
Get me that belt.
I know you want that.
We have Billiken belts.
That's true, but they're traditional belts. This is a if you're watching on YouTube, this is an actual
YouTube
wrestling belt. Yeah. But Torvik pointed out if they can win, if JMU can beat Kent State on the road, which is not going to be easy, but JMU could go on a roll here, and maybe James Madison will be the last undefeated team in the country. Now it's got to get past Rob Senderoff's Golden Flashes here, but after that, it's projected to win every game until January 6th on KenPom. Now, projecting to win every game versus likelihood to win every game in totality, in aggregate, two very, very different things. But
shut up, nerd.
I know, statistics, probabilities. What do you want me to do? But just keep an eye out for that. James Madison, by the way, it's the first time they have won a game over a top 15 team, a top 10 team, a top 5 team in school history. The only other time they ever beat a ranked opponent came in 92 in the Meadowlands in New Jersey when they beat 19th ranked Cal, who had Jason Kidd as a freshman. They were 1-42 prior to Monday's win against ranked opponents. So credit to Mark Byington, credit to Terrence Edwards, who had 26, TJ Pickerstaff had 21. That was really, really good stuff. And a noisy result. We told you the flip side.
Big time result, right?
Huge, yes.
Like huge headline Monday night. This top 5 team losing at home to James Madison. Is it the best assessment of what happened in those 45 minutes? Like you noted, James Madison ain't bad. All right, that's a quality basketball team. And Michigan State went 1 of 20 from 3.
I know.
They shot 5% from 3.
Horrendous.
Like if you're a Michigan State fan and you're disappointed, and why wouldn't you be? The silver lining is probably, hey, James Madison doesn't resonate like some power conference school might, but James Madison is better than some power conference schools. And we missed 19 of the 20 3-pointers that we took. Last season, Michigan State, different team, got it, but they shot 39.3% from 3. If they just shoot that average, they make, I'm rounding up slightly, they make 7 more threes in the game. That's 21 points. I know basketball doesn't exactly work that way, but you can reasonably suggest that if Michigan State merely shot last season's average, or, you ready for this? Even 5% better from 3. Like if they shot 10% from 3, that might be enough to win the game. The problem is they shot 5% from 3, so they lost. Hopefully, for their sake, that's the worst shooting performance they have all season. Tom said afterward he doesn't ever remember his team shooting the ball so poorly. I don't know whether that's true or false. I mean, I guess it's true that he doesn't remember it. I don't know if it's factually a fact. But, boy, that's not the way you want to start a season. Take 23s, miss 19 of them.
Izzo also said this after the game.
Well, I hope the listeners heard that because I sure didn't.
You can't hear that?
Nope.
You can't hear it at all?
Not at all.
Oh, gosh. Never mind.
Good try.
You didn't hear it whatsoever?
A for effort.
You've got to be kidding me.
F for execution. A for effort.
Can I try it one more time?
F for execution.
Let me know if you hear this at all. Ready here? You hear Izzo? Do you hear him at all?
The only way I could hear him now was I call him. You want me to grab my phone and call him?
What is going on? All
A
right.
for effort.
He said,
I like the attempt. F for execution. I like that you tried hard. You're diving on the floor for me. Then you're turning it over. I like the way you get on the floor, but then you're throwing the ball away.
What is going on here? Why is this not working? All right, I'll look into that in a second. He basically said, I'll play the freshman if I got to play the freshman. I'm not happy with how my veterans played. Don't know what was going on out there. And listen, Madi Sissoko, Malik Hall, AJ Hogard, Jaden Akins, they did not play well collectively. Tyson, he even said, Izzo, Tyson Walker had statistically a good game, but Izzo was like, I didn't think Tyson played that well overall.
Said he had a leadership problem.
Said Cohen Carr was the only one who had a good game. Cohen Carr had 14 points, 6 boards, no turnovers in 28 minutes. Walker went for 35 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 6 steals. They needed him to be as good as he was, but I'm not. First of all, you're talking to a guy who was lower on Michigan State than pretty much almost anyone, but even still, I had him 11th in the country. I just didn't pick him to be a top 5 team or a top 10 team this season, but I still think they're going to get it together. This was the first time Tom Izzo lost a home game in November in his career. In fact, the program, I understand that most home games in November are going to be against mid-major competition, most of them, not all, but plenty. Michigan State had not lost a home game since 1986 in the month of November. That's incredible. So that streak finally comes to an end. And I'm not, I don't know. I guess your question was, how much did my perception of Michigan State change by Monday night versus where it was, Monday around 6:00 or whatever. And maybe a little bit, but just one game. Let's see what they do here when they got to turn around and play Southern Indiana. I don't have the schedule in front of me. And then they obviously have the Champions Classic. We'll get to that next week. That'll be the next big, a bigger referendums on Michigan State in the short term will come after that big matchup.
Yeah, Michigan State, you've got it right. Thursday against Southern Indiana. That's back at the Breslin Center. Tuesday, Champions Classic. They've got Duke. This might sound weird. Nothing that happened on the court really concerns me about Michigan State or changes what I think they can be. I think they just played poorly, shot incredibly poorly, and lost a game to a team that's good enough to beat them if they shoot like that. What I didn't like is the way Tom talked about them afterwards. Like when coaches say I have an experienced team, but I got a leadership problem, that's not a great thing to hear. It was the type of stuff you heard coming out of North Carolina last year. Like, who's the leader? Locker rooms divided, guys pulling in different directions. I'm not suggesting in any way whatsoever that this will go like that. I'm just saying I'm not bothered with they lost the game while shooting 1 of 20 from 3. Like, take anybody. Almost nobody will shoot 1 of 20 from 3, and almost anybody will lose against a quality team when they shoot 1 of 20 from 3. So that's that. But the way Tom talked about him afterwards is that would be concerning to me if I were Michigan State. Ain't nothing he can't fix. I assume that he will, but it is something that he publicly acknowledged as an issue right now.
Yeah, and and listen, appreciate Izzo for always being willing to be honest in his press conferences. This is nothing new. We always are going to welcome that. We'll see if it winds up mattering at all. But I mean, for how all of this played out from a result standpoint, I mean, Michigan State was the first team in 22 years to lose a home opener as a top 5 team in the country. The last time that happened was Kentucky, when it was ranked number 4 and dropped its home opener to Western Kentucky in 2001. And there hadn't even been a top 5 team in the AP poll that lost a season opener to an unranked opponent since Michigan State. It opened on the road against Hawaii as a tune-up to Maui. That was that epic 2005 Maui year with the triple overtime against Gonzaga. Before all that, they went and played Hawaii, and they got beat there. So we don't see these kinds of results normally in the first couple of days of the season from top 5 teams. We got it with Michigan State. They brought back most of the roster. They were ranked accordingly, and we'll wait and see. I think it was just as much. And now I understand the 1 of 20 from 3-point range. I think it was just as much the way that James Madison was composed, because they were up big in the first half, and then MSU did push back, but then they punched back themselves, and that's a good win to a team. I'm probably jinxing them right now here, but from a record standpoint, if JMU really is going to be that good at the Sun Belt level, and if it does beat Kent State on Thursday, there's a chance that this could be FAU-ish if they prove to be as dominant of a mid-major team as expected. This could be a team that we look up in January, and maybe it only has 1 or 2 losses to its name.
Just one last thing that is worth pointing out. Obviously, you and I, like, you had them ranked where you had them ranked. I had them ranked where I had them ranked. We both think Michigan State is going to be great relative to most of the rest of the sport. It is worth noting that they weren't great last season. You know,
they were okay. They weren't great. They were okay.
Yeah. No, I'm like, take what I said literally. They weren't great. They were good. But they did finish, I think, 26th at KenPom. They got a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. They were not I remember just sort of having a conversation with Commander King. He said, man, you guys haven't talked about Michigan State at all. And as we've discussed before, it was because they were never great enough to be like, ooh, they're great. And they were never bad enough to be like, oh, my God, they're really bad. It was just like they were good and just just good. And you bring back a lot of those guys. I include myself in this. We go, that good team's bringing a lot of people back. They're going to be great. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they just stay kind of good. I'm not predicting that, but just keep that in mind as we move forward.